Good to go to call the meeting to order. 7 o'clock, we good? First up, affordable housing request.
How would you like to do this, David?
Pop up right here would be great, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, yeah. And I think we've got a little bit of background information, but, give us
Are those other microphones laying on the ground? Extend out?
Yes, they are.
That might be interesting.
No tap dancing.
No. Not my repertoire. They're on.
If anyone's on the
Even
phone,
when asking for money.
Really loud.
I think we're good. If it does happen. Thank you, Andy.
No problem.
Recognizing that. So a little bit of overview?
A little background. We have two affordable housing projects moving forward, one of which has been in the works for a couple of years, actually. That's the one involving Colored Family Open Space, where as part of that acquisition in 2019, there were two 3-acre building envelopes defined and not set aside exactly, but put in an option to use for affordable housing. Now, those two building envelopes have been surveyed, and they have been incorporated into the conservation restriction that covers the entire open space. But those two particular 3-acre envelopes have an allowed use of one single-family residence per envelope.
Now, they were floating. Are they now not floating?
They are fixed.
Okay.
And they're fixed by the conservation restriction. However, having done a full title search and records pull down as this moved along, they've never been divided. So they only exist in the context of the conservation restriction. So there are no deeds for them. They're not on the tax records. So in order to transfer those, and since then we've identified Habitat for Humanity as a development partner. So we're going to work with them. This is their business. They can come in. They've done this many, many times, over 100 times in Milwaukee County over the last 35 years, actually. And so we got approval from the Board of Selectmen to go ahead and partner with them to actually do the work rather than try and wing it as a town project. But in order to transfer the properties to them, they do need to be divided. So the first item on here is actually the top priority request, which is to get the technical services, the survey and engineering as needed, and the legal services that we need to actually put through a subdivision application, get that approved. And
get separate title that can be transferred.
And then it can be transferred. We can go to contract with them, at which point a $100,000 reimbursement comes back to the town as part of the option. And then from there, that would launch the second phase where Habitat for Humanity has the ball, and they construct the homes and identify the buyers and qualify the buyers and take it from there. So that's the first one.
Would that require a trip to zoning and to planning both, do you think?
Not exactly sure at this point. Probably just planning. Some of it depends on how Habitat for Humanity will want to move their site plan and application through. We've encouraged them to go in the 30G path if they do that, because that'll smooth it out on the town end. If they do that, we might have to make a trip to zoning first and then back to planning. Eric has a couple of options there, and we'll do whatever Eric says to get it through.
Help me understand the grant money that's coming in. You said the town would get $100,000. Is that timing on that, or what's that contingent on?
We applied for and were awarded a $150,000 ARPA grant to support this project.
2 years ago at this point.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So part of the option is that whoever takes the land has to reimburse the open space fund for the costs of the acquisition. And actually, if I understand this correctly, the original acquisition of the open space had 3 parts to it. So one was the bulk of the open space, and then were 2 separate transactions for these 3-acre parcels. So
I think it was all one 300-acre parcel to begin with,
but there were
with a provision that 2 affordable lots could be situated on the property pretty much likely in this area, so.
But they were floating at that time.
And now we've got them on.
Defined.
Figured
But they-
out, yeah.
So the
So there's just to finish, there's
Yeah.
a lot release of $50,000 for each lot
okay.
of the open space of the of the whole McCulloch, but the two parcels. So when Habitat takes over, here's the deed, here's the 50,000 times 2. Yeah.
So the 12,000, how was that arrived? Are we comfortable that that's going to be a good number? Because, you're talking about two separate parcels, right? You're probably going to need an A5 survey or whatever it is, super deluxe. So that's going to cost more than just eyeballing it. And then you've got the legal costs of actually separating the parcels once they've been identified and everything else. So are you comfortable with the 12,000?
They were based on consultation with the surveyors and engineers, and also with town council on what the legal costs would be.
Okay.
So as comfortable as we can be with it being an estimate and not knowing exactly what's going to happen is.
Yeah, there's a tiny bit of cushion in there then, hopefully. So.
Yeah, and the other cushion we have is the two other items are lower in priority. So if we had to push something up,
Right.
potentially do that.
Okay, good. Any other questions on McCullough Farm?
Okay, the second project is more recent, and that's more of an exploratory project. And as part of a review of all of the unused town-owned land that are on our books, which there were 60 odd, one of which we're sitting in, the firehouses, but there are just many of which are the little bits of open space that get allocated by planning when there's a development. But we actually found, we hoped that there'd be at least one in there, but we actually found two parcels up off of Route 1 across from Rogers Lake, behind the Boughton Road Fire Station. It's in an R20 zoned residential area. There are other residences there, and these are vacant town-owned lands that one of which has actually had at one point in its history, we're not sure when, had a residence on it, which has been raised and has a decommissioned well and septic on it. The other of which is currently in the form of 5 abutting tiny little lots that together add up to just about a half acre. So, again, in consultation with the Board of Selectmen and with the Land Use Department, they advised us that we said, how do we approach this? And they said, well, the next step would be to do enough soil and water testing to give you confidence that they're actually buildable. So these two, the second item is to do the soil and water testing on the two lots. It will be at risk. We think it's at low risk because it's in a residential area where it's surrounded by residences, and as I said, one of those parcels actually had a residence on it at one point and had a working well and septic. So that's the second item. The third item, if we clear that hurdle, and would be contingent on that hurdle, is to do the lot line modification on that cluster of 5 little lots that would cause it to become 1 half-acre-ish building lot. And that's an estimate on, again, the technical and legal services it would take to do that one. But that would be contingent on the soil and water testing coming back positive, and then we'd go back to the Board of Selectmen and say, okay, we have something here, project to actually move these forward.
Who do you contemplate would be the developer on those? Habitat again?
It fits their mold, so assuming they have the bandwidth and we have a good experience with McCulloch, it would be a logical first stop.
Single family is what they're...
Yeah, they focus on owner-occupied single-family homes.
Yep.
Differentiated from, say, the Hope Partnership that looks to small to mid-scale multifamily rentals like they've done in Essex, and I think they just broke ground in Madison on another project. So between the two of those, they're complementary, but this type of project, it's really in Hope's wheel. And again, we came pretty close to 20,000 on this, and this was really on a bottom up. We did not start.
Price is right.
Yeah.
$9.99.
We started with we didn't start with 20,000 and say, well, what can we do with it?
Yeah.
We went bottom up with the estimates, and it came up pretty close, which gave us the confidence to say, well, maybe we have something to ask for here, and we can make some progress. So there are the three priorities here. McCulloch is clearly because it has two time-sensitive aspects to it. First is the expiration of the option in September 2024. And the second one is the close of the grant, which is December 26th. And the other two are, as I said, are more exploratory.
Well, I guess we can't come, if we approve, one thought is approve it all, it's fine. One other option that people may think about is the third item is contingent. And it's not going to happen, I don't know how quickly the soil testing can happen and that sort of thing. Maybe that's in next year's budget or whatever. So I just offer that as an observation. So, but
one of the things that Mike said, that if the 12,000 isn't enough to get the McCulloch done, if we approve the 19,750,
I'm not listening.
that it's really for the projects. Affordable housing is.
Yeah, but you can't use those as contingencies. So
Yeah.
I appreciate that point, but
But why not
I'm learning
keep
too,
them
so-
separate? I mean, is there a need to do these at the same time, and that's why the money's being released at the same time or requested that way?
You mean all three of these? No, actually, that was based on a conversation we had with the Board of Selectmen, and they said, we initially went for the 3,000 for the testing, and they said, well, why don't you look forward and plot the course all the way to the point where you could actually transfer the properties to a partner.
Right.
And cost that out, and that's what we did.
yeah.
Well, the other point would be, I think we can only make one appropriation per
That's where I was-
budget.
No, I knew that, but with that in mind, to someone else's point, if you go over on the first part, are we going to need some wiggle room?
Well, that's interesting.
Again, my
In other
Yeah.
words, we can probably make a motion in the aggregate without specifying how it's broken down for these three. But in terms of timing, is it reasonable that you can get to the third thing before the end of this fiscal year?
I think it is feasible. I'm not an engineer, certainly not a soil and water scientist, but my understanding is that late fall, early winter is the season to do perk testing.
Yeah.
So if that's true, and based on, or your comment about only going back to the well once,
Right.
I would advocate approving the whole thing.
And then it's a matter of the language.
It may or may
The
not be
language
spent, but
The language could be very discreet, or it could be kind of general. So any other comments or questions? I'll entertain a motion if somebody would like to make one.
well, I guess trying to articulate, I would move that we approve an allocation or appropriation of up to 19,750 to be used by the Affordable Housing Commission for purposes of exploring the development of these properties, the McCulloch and the Kimmick and Hillcrest properties.
Okay. Great. Any further discussion at all?
Where would you recommend we have the destination of these funds? What line item should we use? So the funds available, I guess we'd have to think that through.
With the affordable housing,
In his budget, affordable housing, the line item, your different lines, but there, pick something within your budget to have these funds reside.
Yeah, this would be we have a line item for some legal, but we don't have a real.
You have a miscellaneous.
This is our first.
other.
We're happy to say this is some of the first projects we're actually been able to launch. So.
Miscellaneous other, not that you like to put stuff in there, but there's clerk, legal, advertising, printing, and miscellaneous other.
No consulting?
No.
What about open space? This in conjunction with them?
No, because they're going to be the recipient of the cash that potentially comes from affordable housing efforts.
Possible to add a line at this point, or?
Why not?
Or do you have to wait for a town meeting to do that?
I think given that this is going to occur probably more frequently, given the nature of the town, that adding a line item we have legal, okay, that's fine.
You're gonna need it.
But consulting or maybe
Engineering?
engineering, yeah. But something that's less discrete even than engineering.
Technical services?
Kind of almost site consultation or site
Site assessment?
site assessment, yeah.
Well, I feel like
Or assessment.
consultation is even just
That much
contracted
more.
services.
Contracted services.
Contracted services. That's it.
General.
Collective brain.
Yeah.
That could,
So do we need a motion to
Yeah.
add a line item, or she can just do that?
No, I think Anita can do that, yeah.
but the motion should reflect.
Should reflect that it's going into contracted services,
I don't know that it needs to be that specific,
just
because...
that it's going to affordable housing.
Yeah, because that's the line item for our budget is affordable housing.
Okay,
Okay, that makes sense.
great.
Okay. Further comments or questions? Move to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it.
Have a nice Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
All right, minutes.
This is 17th.
Yeah. So we'll start with the 17th. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I have a comment, page 4.
If you want to make a motion, then a second, and then we'll...
I'll make the motion.
Okay, thank you. Great.
You think I know that by now?
Any discussion?
Yes. Page 4, under 36-1 Buttonball Road.
Yeah.
The second sentence is confusing to me. Mr. Griswold stated that a new split rail fence will be installed along the marsh, along the Blair property line, using funds from the open space budget. There is $20,000 in the 24 budget for the project. To me, that sounds like we're talking about there's 20 grand in there for the fence. Is that what that's for, Tim, or is it for the walkway? It's for the entire budget? Okay.
Yeah, actually, I think Open Space clarified they have money for the fence themselves.
Okay.
So that can become more of the engineering budget for the dock.
That's what I thought.
Yeah,
So I didn't know if we needed to clarify that somehow.
probably fungible.
Well, minutes reflect what was said,
Okay.
so I don't think...
I didn't know if they were referring to the 20,000 or for the Harbor Commission building.
Yeah, no,
And that's why I was confused. Or harbor management compared to the open space budget.
well, I guess a question that could be clarified, if we heard it again, there is $20,000 in the budget for the project. Whose budget?
Right. Thank you. Open space or harbor management.
But again, to David's point, if that wasn't specified in
Then
the
it
meeting,
reflects the
then we
minutes.
just have to leave
Okay.
it the way it is.
Right.
It's a good question, but it wasn't stated at the meeting.
Okay.
Well, we're on
Judah, you're good with just...
I'm fine with that, but I was looking at it to assign it to one or the other, but if that's not what the meeting discussion was.
Yeah.
that's fine.
And we didn't vote on it.
When we're done with the minutes, let's discuss the substantive question
Okay.
and talk to Anita about it.
Okay. Yep. Sounds good.
While we're on page 4, if you go up to the top, Soundview sewer project, second line, 15 million forgivable loan rather than lien.
I like that better.
I mean, the exact opposite of what we wanted, although spelled differently.
Like $30,000 difference.
Like an oxymoron.
$30 million.
And then I have a question on
Spelled maintenance.
Talking about the money flowing into the Ms. Philemon's donations. I would like to add something that was important to us, and I think ought to be reflected in the minutes, to the effect that, however, it was noted that donations may not be given directly to Ms. Philemon and dispersed by her. So, and I believe that was...
That's my recollection.
True.
That was
Yep.
stated,
That was a
and
real
I think it's important that the Board of Finance
Animal control. I agree.
commit to that.
BJ, where are you looking?
The top
top
of
of
page
page
2.
two.
Oh, okay, top of page 2.
So,
little
before the last
Right.
sentence, the board respectfully requested that Ms. Philemon be invited to the next board meeting. She's not here, is she?
No, I don't know. Was she invited?
And I guess that may be an accurate statement, I just don't remember. But I would wonder, as a practical matter, whether it makes more sense for individuals to meet with her rather than to have her come to a board meeting.
Yeah.
I thought that that you suggested that Martha or someone meet with her directly, one-on-one, to go over the possibility of setting something up. I think Martha mentioned that she was familiar with setting up 501c3s, and
Yeah.
that she could help her.
Well, I think,
But I don't think there was
I don't think any...
designated meeting was established.
So the only, yeah.
I'm just going to say, just for context too, there's some other business.
Right.
There's some of Kim's comments. The animal.
Right.
Correct.
That's a little bit what you were
Yeah.
getting to.
Yep.
Yep.
Well,
What we're talking
yeah.
about now is really correcting the
The minutes.
September
Minutes.
Yeah.
correction
Right.
for the meeting. We haven't gotten to October yet, in real.
But I agree with BJ, the discussion took place, and that should be part
So
of it.
let me just read the words again, and folks can agree or disagree. Michelle, did you get them when I said it? I'll read it again.
Yeah, I was going to ask.
However, this would be before the last sentence the board respectfully requested.
Yeah.
Before that, I'd insert, however, it was noted that donations may not be given directly to Ms. Philemon and dispersed by her.
That was accurate. Totally.
Okay. That's the only comment I have.
Any other comments? Tim?
Under general government capital, HM, Harbor Management, Buttonball Road, permitting dock, 20,000. So in the capital budget, not in any commission budget, is specified permitting dock.
Okay.
What page is that, 14? No.
14 at the bottom, practically, in the general government.
Yep.
So Jude, would it,
About 4 lines up from the bottom of that
I got it.
government section.
would it address your concern if it said there's $20,000 in the fiscal year 2024 capital budget for the project?
That
But
wasn't said.
it was the fence they're talking about, not the,
The dock and not for the
Right.
fence.
and I think it should be clear which account it's coming from.
Capital, yeah.
But it's not coming from capital, the fence,
It
or
is.
is it? Okay.
There's 20,000 at the bottom of that general government capital.
Actually, as part of this, so we're going to approve the minutes. 'Cause
Yeah.
it is whatever was said.
Yep.
But if we could note Jude's comment in these minutes of today and say that Jude Reed had requested that we clarify that the 20,000 was harbor management and was intended for...
Well, the minutes here state that the fence will be installed using funds from the Open Space Commission's budget,
That's correct.
not from the $20,000.
Or I'm sorry, I didn't want to
Yeah.
speak for, so if you'll offer your comment that we can then make sure are in the minutes.
Well, just to clarify, somehow,
Because we
that
don't wanna-
using the
we don't
fund
wanna
from
take
Open Space
From Harbor Management.
Commission.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, but
Without-
I agree with you, now that you point that out. So the words here clearly say that there's $20,000 in the Open Space
Right.
Commission's budget for this current fiscal year to be used by the fence.
And is there?
Is shaking his head and saying that's not quite accurate.
Right.
So we should clarify today.
Why don't we leave it at using funds from the Open Space Commission's budget, period? And there is $20,000 in the 2024 budget for the project of, engineering and design of the dock? So they're two separate.
But this is
Item.
this is Tim's report last
Right.
month, and this is what he said. So perhaps in this month's report,
We could,
he could
correct.
clarify it.
Correct.
Could you do
In
that?
his report this month, right?
It's
Does that
just
make sense?
confusing to me where this 20,000 is, because we know there's 20,000 in harbor management, but we don't know there's 20,000 to build a fence.
Clarify
Agreed.
that item.
Sorry, Tim.
Yes. All right. So,
So,
With those-
no correction,
No
it
correction.
stays,
Yep.
but it gets
Amended a little.
Clarified.
amended or clarified in this month's meeting
right.
minutes. Okay.
So with that, any other
No.
potential revisions, et cetera? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of approving the minutes of October 17th, 2023, as amended, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Super short special meeting, November 8th. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
A second, thank you. Comments, potential corrections?
Jane, I was absent.
One abstention.
And me too. Okay.
Okay. No comments, et cetera. We'll move to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed say nay. Great. Motion carries. Financial reports. All is well.
I'm
Do it,
Do you want me to read, or any
No.
questions, or?
Yeah. So we do have highlights.
Yes.
So let's spend a minute and reflect upon the highlights, because Anita spent the time to do those for us.
Thank you.
And if there's any questions and or clarifications.
Just a question on the Infotech, up 6.9% over last year. That's the contract that we knew was going to be at that?
Correct, that's why I put down increase in Connecticut Computer Services.
Yeah, okay. Weren't we going to check into probate court as to why our fees were up?
Well, last year, I think we picked up the wrong amount for some reason. I think it was actually higher last year. And it's, I don't know quite why the discrepancy, but I think when I look back, it was, what they submitted was what we approved.
Tim, when I'm checking out carryover, we've still got money for Soundview sidewalks.
Correct.
We spent a little bit, but we got 23 grand left.
Well,
It's like interminable, that process.
we believe we need to return about 14,000 to the state for not using the full 400,000 grant. So there will be some underspending because we did appropriate, I think, 50,000 for the bus and other stuff. Once it was known that there was grant money that was not being used, so in order to use it, we had to put some more of our own money into it. So the bus facility was a second stage of the sidewalk program.
Right.
So you're never going to hit it 100% on the grant.
So the 22 grand that we've got in there, 14 could go back, and then we're talking about 8 grand that...
And 7 will be underspending, go back to surplus.
Right, okay. Thank you. Okay. Any other questions for?
Yeah, I've got a couple of questions, Anita.
Okay.
Just from the top of the page, tax collection rate is down less than 1%. Does that mean that we're collecting at a smaller percentage than we did last year to date, but the reduction is not even 1% less?
It's not even 1%. It was, if I remember correctly, it was like a 0.61. It
But
was
we also in
nothing,
the budget
but it's
increased-
also more money this year compared to last. So it is more money, but it's a different percentage.
I'm just thinking of the budget. Our revenues in this year's fiscal budget assumed a higher collection rate than the previous year.
Well,
So-
I don't think we were assuming higher than we've collected. It was just higher than we've been using.
That's right, because our collection rate is like 99.5 or something like that.
But still, it's a good point.
So for budgetary purposes, we were being conservative and always assuming a collection rate less than actual.
98.25%.
Right.
We went to
And so
98.5
as
or
long as
something.
we're still
Right.
Within that margin.
above
That
Yes.
percentage
we're
of the
okay.
total, yeah.
Right.
And it's not the end of the year yet,
Right.
so we still have more collecting to do.
Yeah, no, it's not the panic.
No, it's not at all.
And then the investment income, is that for 4 months, July,
Correct.
August, September, October?
Correct.
So if we extrapolate to 12 months, we can just, make a guess.
Well, we're doing very well because it's, they reorganized the way the banks go together. It all goes into like one account and it's earning a higher yielding. It's 4.25. So it's at a higher rate than what it was. And you could see compared to where it was last year, we're up for 4 months.
So the other, this is wonderful. The other data that would be interesting is not merely how does it compare to last year, but how does it compare to the budget? Because
Well, we budgeted $300,000.
300 for the year.
So
we're already halfway there.
Yeah.
In 4 months.
Yes.
Okay,
So you're well ahead.
And that's on these sheets.
okay. Thanks.
4%.
And I did want to note, we didn't pay it, but the auditor, the quote did come. That's the future expenditures on the bottom. He sent over a contract, was never signed, so we just did that. I spoke with Tim last week, and we signed it because the engagement letter was never signed. But it in the budget was 45 for the state single and 9 for the federal because of the ARPA money. You have to do a federal because of the money. So basically, he came in at 50,500 for the state and 9,000 for the federal, but it does have a clause about a 5% client support fee. So,
Isn't that annoying?
and that was no place in the budget. I do have.
Part of the contract.
It's part of the contract, but and they're supposed to come and
Have they,
speak with me, but they have not. I have a lot of things over there that they're reviewing.
yeah.
But they
I
haven't.
would just be curious, client support fee is what? Is that, because you,
Answering your phone call.
because that's new. We
Yeah,
haven't,
all it says is we also bill a
But it's not in our
technology
quote.
and client support
In addition, right.
of 5% of all professional fees.
Have they ever done that before?
that's the
That
question.
I know of.
I've never heard of that before.
I've never heard of
seems-
that.
It's not in the budget. It's not in your
Of
budget.
course not.
Obviously.
But that's a question for Ron.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, this has never existed before. Are you telling me you're just gonna increase our fees by 5% just because?
And it's
by
on
the
the
way,
invoice.
you've already increased them?
It's on the contract.
Right, but it's not,
Yeah.
right.
Yes, we did.
She did. They did.
Because we had to move forward. No,
Right.
you can still say that.
Still,
But it's just obnoxious if
Well, I
they're,
agree, Dave, you have really on both counts. A, the amount of money, and B, I just think it's sleazy to characterize a 5% increase
Can't be.
as if it's something else, don't worry about
Right.
it.
it's not sleazy, it's part of the contract, it's professional.
Professionally sleazy.
Client support.
So I did want to tell you that line will be over, yeah.
yeah. Well, why don't you tell Ron that?
Yeah.
And then when he's busting our chops next year, hey, we're.
He will not be here. He is retiring. He retires in December.
Yeah.
No, I meant regarding the, he
He doesn't
won't
have
be
to
here to
deal with
answer the question.
Now, he wasn't the manager, though.
I bet.
He was just the partner.
Yes, and they're in their contract at a certain age, they have to, it's mandatory retirement.
But is the same manager do you know if the same manager?
We're getting a new person, and I'm supposed to be meeting with him, Santo Carta,
Okay.
and he's going to bring him by for me to meet.
Is that the partner or is that the manager?
To David's point, it would be
Says
nice if
Prince.
we had some continuity, right? It would be nice if the manager who did it last year is gonna do it this year.
Yeah.
He did say that someone on the team was here, I believe it was this person who did it last year.
Hopefully it was. I mean, you know the drill. I mean, obviously, it's easy to have somebody.
Well, and that's why I asked, that's why I rushed to get him majority of the stuff, because I told him I wanted continuity because, of everything going on. At least I wanted him to do it because he's done it for so many years. And he said that the person that he is bringing did do some of the work, was here last year.
We're not throwing New London at them. We're throwing Old Line. There's not a whole bunch of suspense accounts that you have to
No.
figure out.
Come and have lunch, though.
All right. Any other questions or clarifications for Anita while we got her? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Other business? Selectmen's report? Final report?
Okay, Halls Road, the soils report the principal report is done because of a little area in the western end of Halls Road. They're going to do a little more work on an area that they think should be analyzed. So that called for an $800 additional, which the Board of Selectmen listened to the discussion, and it can be funded through the money that's available. But they wanted to check out this section of ground. Look, it's not that they're going to be digging and so forth. They go up and check the DEP records that relate to what that problem may be. I think it's toward the what do they call that? Little restaurant after Bicycle's building.
Angry Goose?
No, Long River or Long Table.
Sandwich shop.
Where Rich Gardens used to be.
Long River Local.
So, Tim, why are we doing these soil samples?
Thank you.
Is
They're
it-
not doing samples, they're like,
But the analysis, is it in anticipation of putting sidewalks in? or-
no, I think the committee is trying to have a fuller picture for property owners if they were to do things using the new zoning overlay, if that is approved, so they have a bit more information available. Soundview Sewer, Rich Prendergast came to the Board of Selectmen meeting and gave a nice briefing to everyone as to what's happening, but they are submitting paperwork to access some of the clean water money so that a design build that Woodward and Curran, which is the town's engineer, the engineer has done the work but has not been paid for the work, and they're okay with that, but it's going on for a long time. So I think that this accessing this money will enable that to be paid. I think it also, paperwork was upgraded. The bond which the town took out, I think in 2018, for the $9.5 million for our portion of the whole project, as estimated back then. We've not drawn down any money on that, and it's very convoluted because Old Colony's been paying bills using its clean water money, and so it's a kind of a dizzy situation. But by accessing this through the DEP, then this bill can be paid, and they can also get reimbursed on some prior money. He said about $75,000, which was some planning money that was expended before the current stuff. So it's settling up, if you will, and it would be using the 2% funds that have been approved through the clean water money that's allocated for the town. And I guess at some point Rich might come and talk to the Board of Finance to give an update on where we are, where we're going. But then there are these intermunicipal agreements with New London for the septic disposal over there, their wastewater treatment plant, and for the towns of East Lyme and Waterford for the transportation of same through the pipes. East Lyme, Waterford is pretty fine. That original agreement is not being adjusted due to time passing, but New London is to extend it. They're getting a little bit of flesh as part of that deal. Typical. Long story, but so things are moving forward. I don't know that. I think that Rich said in the best case there might be some bidding going on in the first quarter if things turn out well. But that's pretty close at hand because everybody's sort of waiting to see what the trade will charge. If the $15 million forgivable loan, in fact, is codified, then that's a big relief and would make things a lot more affordable. Everybody thinks that's pretty much of a given. We passed that affordability test which was pretty much uniform for all the beaches and O-line. So that seems like that's a given at this point, but we don't have signed stuff from them. So progressing slowly. Good luck. Senior Center, the construction manager contract is being finalized. We spent a lot of time on insurance, haven't we?
It is supposedly final now.
Done?
Contract.
Okay. Yeah, that's. I never imagined insurance would take a month or so.
The CM agreement is signed. The insurance is not settled.
Yeah.
And I don't have an update on that. I mean, surprisingly, a number of us, Kerma wanted to outsource the builder's risk policy for the project rather than keeping it inside, and they're having some trouble according to the emails back and forth, finding an underwriter with the comment that underwriters don't like to, and you ought to know this, insure wood frame buildings.
Welcome to Old Lyme.
Well, I mean, come on. So,
Kermer doesn't want to take the risk either.
I mean, we'll place the insurance somewhere at some point, but last I knew it hadn't been placed.
Gary Baker sent me through the documents for me to upload to Kerma today. I sent them over to Kerma for their review. She said we should be all set. Now it's in their hands.
In Kerma's hands, yeah. So there's that. And the other comment I'll make in terms, and we need the builder's risk insurance before we break ground and start building. We don't need it for Newfield to go out and solicit bids. But what we do need is a sign off from whom? Who are we getting the grant money from?
Well, we have a steep grant for two
that
towns.
is the DECD that's reviewing.
Yeah, I set paperwork up for Old Lyme. There's also a SHPO, which is a State Historic Preservation Office, looking for Indian artifacts. So I think the meat and potatoes, Lyme sent theirs in, so I think that should get us to the next stage there.
Right, so what Tim is saying is we've given them all they've requested, and now we just have to hound them to make a decision and sign off. In other words, they have to review the construction contracts and documents because they're giving us $1 million. So that is delaying past when we had hoped to break ground somewhat.
Insurance is the biggest issue, right?
Well, I mean, it's a deal breaker. We can't do it without, right? But I can't believe that this isn't insurable. I mean, why shouldn't it be insurable? Now, the cost of it is a different question, right?
Right, yeah. Although, I mean, a lot of these insurers are getting out of the market.
Right.
So it's pretty brutal out there.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm familiar with kind of storm area insurers, but everywhere?
It's everything.
Kemper is pulling out of residential insurance in Connecticut.
Yes.
Really?
Great.
Yeah.
Well, Kerma got whacked with a $20 million loss, and which town? So
That's like half their reserves.
Yeah.
well, they had some reinsurance too, but
Right, yeah.
anyhow, they're probably saying, well, we'll outsource this.
Yeah.
They ask stuff like, are you going to use a blowtorch? And then what kind of torch and all that.
You're like, probably.
No, we're not. No, absolutely not.
There's a flow.
Get it. Tell them what they want to hear. I mean, no.
But
Then
ultimately,
it's the plumber's
it's
insurance.
probably one insurer is going to show up, and you're going to pay through the teeth.
Yep.
You know.
And be happy.
But it's
to
still
get
a
it.
rounding error in the overall scheme of the project. Fingers crossed.
Right.
Yep.
Ferry Road, we have the tree easement. We also need a temporary work easement for work on the property. So that's the second thing that I wasn't aware of. And so we're going to round that up, and that then would enable us to send stuff up to the state DOT for that little steep grant and then get that rolling. The plan would be to put that out to bid in the first quarter, early in the first quarter, so that work could begin and hopefully conclude before Memorial Day.
It'd be nice.
He thinks it'll only be about a 6-week job once they get rolling.
12.
And we think we're going to be out, we will probably get the tree work done directly town to tree contractor as opposed to having the contractor hire a tree company, because you're going to pay an extra 15% probably. So hopefully that will tee up and get good prices. Swan Brook, not much there. We have some eyes and ears at the beach watching the sand ebb and flow. We have the Garvin Industries ready to dig out if it becomes severe. I think in conjunction with a proposal for zoning, there was some there was some examination of the drainage that comes, Swan Brook starts way up, I guess, behind Witchwood. And it comes down Cross Lane, probably on the east side. And I can't say whether it goes under the bridge where the cars go, or whether, I think it goes
over the road
east.
usually.
East.
That's what it's been lately.
And then back to Swan Brook, and it makes its way over to the outlet. The drainage basin at the bottom of the railroad trestle is now, it's been impassable a bit last week. And everybody's scratching their head because Ed had it blown out, the pipe, which goes across the road, joins a little brook thing, and it comes out in somebody's yard. Crazy. And so there's no tidal water there, so we're saying, why is there standing water under the underpass when the brook is running? There's no tidal action. It's puzzling. So,
Beavers in there?
Don't laugh.
No.
There's going to be some
I mean,
relation. There's been
the
no rain.
muskrat.
Yeah,
Not
no,
much rain.
Yeah.
I've driven through it.
anyway.
Connecticut Water didn't spring a leak, did they?
Yeah, right.
Anyway, I think Swan Brook is just going to be, we're going to observe, make double sure it's really jammed up before we call these guys. Because, they come in with a picture and say, it's plugged up, get down here, we say. And then it blows out. So, I think it has to be really constipated before we're going to do anything. Tanamahaig, I think the 6th of November we made another mission to Tanamahaig Road and yanked 3 plants out. And Mrs. DeRista came out in her bedroom attire. So she said that she had all kinds of unpleasant things to say.
She greets everyone the same way, so you don't feel like you're been singled out.
So the boys had 2 plump dead plants on the truck and a small new one that was in where the cars might go. And so she said, put those back on my property. I said, we did that last time, but some of them were replanted, so we're taking them to Public Works. And so she actually reached up over the gunnel of the truck and pulled the small plant out. So that's where it stands. We're not having a very productive conversation. I know Martha will make things...
Whip it into shape. Oh, dear.
And last, we're happy to announce that Eric Olson has been hired as our new facilities director. Eric has served on the Soundview Sidewalk Project. He's been chairman of the Youth Service Board, right, Matt? And he's a coach, and he's very plugged into town. He's a home improvement type fellow, so he knows his way around things. And so we think there was another candidate who had a lot of credentials, but we thought that Eric would be more appropriate in as much as a lot of our stuff, it's a one-man band, and
that's great.
Come fix the window, or there's a door that's been vandalized or something. So it isn't like you need very sophisticated systems. So he's coming on. He's under training this month and start doing more in December and be ready to go.
That's great. He's a great guy for that spot.
Yes.
Is this a part-time position, Tim?
It is.
What's
And
the part?
maybe 1 July, it
32 hours.
might morph into something more. We'll see. But, it started out with Phil Parkak, who worked 10 hours a week and that wasn't enough. And then I think Tom's been 20 and 25, and he's also doing IT, so he's up to here.
And that's his forte.
Yeah,
IT,
yeah, Tom's more IT.
So how many hours a week are we hiring Eric for right now?
He's what?
How many hours a week are we starting
He's
Eric?
25. He's
25.
Oh, okay.
And Tom will be full-time on IT?
No, Tom will be 25 with IT.
All those hours will be IT.
Yep, instead of,
Exclusive.
Neither one of them are
instead of splitting.
full-time.
Okay.
Yeah, because there's things like camera, what are we going to do about cameras?
Mhm.
And what are we going to do about keyless entry, possibly in town hall and so forth? So all these things are still pending because he's putting out brush fires. So by having Eric, that in time will relieve him of a tremendous amount of stuff. Because obviously when something goes wrong with the facilities, that's the squeaky wheel. And so I think as we go through the first quarter and stuff, we'll see what the recommendation might be to consider the hours for that. So that's about it, unless there are other questions.
I have a comment. It's my last meeting tonight. I am resigning from the Board of Finance to work with Martha and no, I'm very happy to do it. And it's been a long time here. It felt a little squirmy tonight, knowing I'm leaving. But I have a letter for you, Dave. I'll hand it over tonight.
Great.
Well, you ain't the only one. We're gonna miss those two, and you, it's gonna be pretty
Yeah,
different.
start all over again.
Yeah. Well, I think we
And
should really
Catherine's
thank
not
the
here.
three of you for your years of service.
Well, especially
As far
Brooke.
as I know, you were here in the 19th century. When did you
Well, actually, my grandfather was on the very first Board of Finance in the town of Old Lyme. I don't know how many years he served, and my father served for approximately 30. So,
Wow,
but
family
he
legacy.
had a lot more to protect back then. Kind of divided things up a little bit more.
Well, with that, Thursday, because if there's a vacancy, we have to fill the vacancy. So Thursday, special meeting at 6 p.m. to fill the vacancy that's been created by Jude's resignation. And if you can, Michelle, post that tomorrow morning, first thing. I think 24 hours is what we need. And we'll reconvene then and consider what happens.
And also Catherine's.
Catherine.
Yeah,
Not anymore.
Catherine did not run.
Yeah.
So, thanks to her.
But if we're having another meeting,
You
She
can
should-
let Catherine, I'll let Catherine.
Yeah, there's another meeting.
I'll let her know as well, because we would love to thank her for her service too. I mean, she was a good addition to.
She was a good addition. I enjoyed her. Right, and Tim won't be here at the table. Well, Thursday night, maybe.
I thought we might want to appoint Tim.
What a tank.
Tim, do you want to run for?
Is that a motion?
Oh, that's funny.
Did I hear a motion? All right, so Thursday, 6 p.m.
I won't be there.
We'll reconvene and figure out what we do, okay?
You will have
Awesome.
resigned.
Public
Tonight,
comment?
it's effective immediately.
Public comment. Anyone? Hearing none, motion to adjourn, I will entertain.
Wow.
Garvin,
One-
All right, thank you.
the final.
No, you're ready.
Effective immediately.
Is there a second?
There you go, Dave.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you very much.